بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending immense greetings and salutations upon the final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Coming to certain words or symbols or statements that we find that I'm sure many of us have heard or come across, these statements of what is classified as da'wat al-salaf, the call of the pious predecessors. And we all know that it entails in general returning back to the classical sources of interpretation, understanding of the Quran, the Sunnah bestowed upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this revival, we praise and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its Puritan belief in actions and in words is spreading more and more in this ummah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But whilst it does spread, there has unfortunately begun to appear certain manifestations or minimal interpretation of certain other aspects which concern the revival of the way of the pious predecessors. That in no way does it undermine the role of ahmiyat al-aqa'id, the importance of having the pristine belief, ahmiyat al-sunnah, being mutamassik, sunnat al-rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All of that comes into play. And no one should belittle these actions or think that these actions are trivial, because this is the asas. فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. If you believe as they believed, you'll be successful. Likewise, inside Surah An-Nisa, the 4th chapter, some verse 115, if I'm not mistaken, وَمَنْ يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولَ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى وَيَتَّبِعْ غَيْرَ سَبِيلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ نُوَلِّهِ مَا تَوَلَّى وَنُصْلِهِ جَهَنَّمَ وَسَاءَتْ مَصِيرًا. Whoever contends with the messenger after the guidance is shown to that individual and follows a way other than the way of the believers. Al-Mu'minun, as ulama tafasir have mentioned, وَلَا شَكْ فِي ذَلِكَ أَنَّهُمْ صَحَابَةٌ. They are the companions who are the real believers that one should be following and imitating them inside their lives. So just to focus upon what I intend to highlight, that this da'wat al-salaf has become now unfortunately da'wat al-salaf, S-E-L-F. Basically can be summed up as me, myself and I. So there's many individuals, organizations and people who are talking about the revival of the Quran and the Sunnah, but we've begun to, unfortunately, some of us slip and misunderstand certain elements of understanding this pristine call. Just want to mention some broad general ayat and hadith, because we know the Quran has a generic terminology of addressing people directly, whether it be a khitab of Ya ayyuhan nas, Ya Ahlul Kitab, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. It has a general khitab that the Quran addresses. That's ulama tafasir, they mention al-ibra bi umum al-lafzi la bi khusus al-sabab. The lesson is to be taken from the generality of the words and not from the specification revelation. So even the Quran praises al-muhajirun wal-ansar, but if these names and these symbols and these terminologies one begins to hold fast to them, then you can read the tafsir of the ayat, of various ayat from Surah Al-Hujurat, as well as how certain fractions begin to fight one another And another location whereby certain groups of the Muhajirun, young individuals, broke out into a fight with the boys from Al-Ansar. And each one called their own slogans and their own groups and their own parties. And the Messenger ﷺ mentioned, Da'uha, leave them, or leave it, because indeed there's a foul stench that comes from these titles that you're calling out. These are the only two titles in the Quran which have been praised inside Surah Al-Tawbah, the 9th chapter, verse 100, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises Al-Muhajirun wal-Ansar. But both of these names, they become names and slogans of whereby you have an indirect or incorrect allegiance, then one needs to leave these blessed names. The Quran mentions inside Surah Al-Anbiya, the 21st chapter of the Quran, talking about the prophets. It mentions, إِنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدًا وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُونَ. Indeed, your ummah, this nation, is one ummah. وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُونَ. Then again inside Surah Al-Mu'minun, the 23rd chapter of the Quran, with slightly different variants, different ending that we find. وَإِنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدًا وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاتَّقُونَ. Indeed, your ummah is one nation, and I am your Lord, so fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here these generic wordings are clear, that this ummah is one ummah. It doesn't choose and select certain names or places or certain people. And that's what we want to focus upon. That likewise, the generic wording, the ahadith of the Prophet Muhammad are generic in form, in format. They don't mention certain affiliations or parties, etc. They talk about generic terminologies about aiding and helping one another. The current state of the Muslim Ummah, is it due to the lack of correct belief, grave worship, rampant shirk? وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Most of them claim to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is the neglection of the Sunnah, some people concluded, neglection of the Sunnah, some people in this Ummah, abandonment of the Sunnah, going into the path of Tajaddudiyya, modernism, or taking the Sunnah as being something petty. We have lofty goals. نَتَعَجَّبْ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ. We started at those individuals who talk about lofty goals and cannot begin to implement the teachings upon their 5-foot, 10-inch or 11-inch body and talk about lofty goals of changing the world politics around them. It's the state of the Muslim Ummah because of the collapse of the political and economical structure at the moment. That's another reason ulama, people or activists have mentioned that the political system at the moment, the iqtisad at the moment, the basis of it, the lack of having an amir, having a khalifa, having a proper investment system, is also part and parcel of the downfall of this Muslim Ummah. Is it a love of the dunya, the cultivation, the agriculture, the dwellings, that's brought about this collapse? A lack of zuhud, of abstinence from this world, has brought about the downfall of this Muslim Ummah. Is it the fourth or the fifth category, the abandoning of jihad, that's brought about the collapse of this Muslim Ummah? So each different fractions of movements amongst Muslims will focus upon each of these elements. But in essence, all of these elements are all colours and part of one picture. They're all part of one hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The hadith, the Sunan of Abi Dawood, checked by late Shaykh Nasiruddin al-Albani, the famous muhaddith, rahmatullah alayh. إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَ وَأَخَذْتُمْ بِأَذْنَابِ الْبَقَرِ وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادَ سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلًّا لَا يَنزِعُهُ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. So here in a nutshell, the answer is given. That some people may think these are extreme words that are taking place, that this is the downfall. It's all been prophesied by the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَ. You begin to deal in interest transactions. A form of usury is عِينَ. Is not al-banuk al-ribawiyya muntashira fil a'lam al-islami at the moment? Is not the interest, the various interest formats and the banks that we find widely spread in the Muslim Ummah at the moment? Only one place in the Quran you find that committing a sin, whereby Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Know for a fact that war has declared upon those people who take riba by Allah and His Messenger. So when people talk about why is the Muslim Ummah in a bad state, is a large portion of this Muslim Ummah at the moment is at war against Allah and His Messenger. You're not against war against the infidels, you'll get war against Allah. And that's what Ibn Abbas mentioned in Tafsir, in the Day of Judgment, we said, خُذْ سَلَاحَكَ, take your weapons and go and fight Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only a mad person would think of doing that. And that's what many of us at the moment is dunya, we become mad individuals. That living in this life, riba, we think that there's nothing wrong with the taking of riba, akhdu riba. Doesn't lead to the downfall of the Muslim Ummah, is clearly visible. Likewise, you become happy with cultivation. Once again, look at the Muslim Ummah in general, happy with cultivation, worldly possessions, building of lofty buildings, skyscrapers, aerodomes, superdomes, lofty palaces, hotels. All of these are ashratu sa'a, the minor signs of the Day of Judgment. Barefooted, destitute, Bedouin Arabs will compete in the building of lofty buildings. I don't know what other interpretation to give for this hadith, and it's clearly visible in front of us. When people say don't highlight these concerns, we need to enjoy our lives. وَرَضِيتُمْ بِالزَّرْعِ, you become happy with the cultivation. وَتَرَكْتُمُ الْجِهَادِ in its various formats. You can quite clearly see that in all of its various formats, as somebody mentions about this right to defend one's country, one's faith, whatever it may be, this becomes an extreme element. So what will happen in return? سَلَّطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ذُلَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will throw down a disgrace upon that Muslim Ummah and will not lift it until people don't return back to the deen. That's the answer. So once we begin to remove all of these elements, once again the Muslim Ummah will begin to rise back to its glory. Now whilst this Muslim Ummah is inside this pitiful state, ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. Corruption has appeared upon the land and the ocean, what man has sent forth with their own hands. Likewise, find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes sends these calamities, these obstructions, these difficulties to see who are the real believers and those people who submit, at the same time to purify us. That's we find towards the end of Surah Tawbah, أَوَلَا يَرَوْنَ أَنَّهُمْ يُفْتَنُونَ فِي كُلِّ عَامٍ مَرَّةً أَوْ مَرَّتَيْنِ ثُمَّ لَا يَتُوبُونَ وَلَا هُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. Don't we see that we test you once or twice in a year? So why don't we repent back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take heed from this reminder? That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests this Muslim Ummah at times. Hikmatullahi baligha. We cannot understand the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these trials, these tribulations. Many times I sit and I think that a person, a woman who has guarded her chastity throughout her life, and her chastity is taken away, what response can we give to this sister? Is there a response? Externally it seems something extreme, something harsh. But a mu'min doesn't lose faith and conviction that this form of purification for that person may be a deliverance to enter them directly into paradise without any hisab. So externally, ظاهر العذاب, externally seems like some hardship, some difficulty. وباطنه رحمة, inside it, internally it could be some great rahmah, some great mercy that we can't understand. That maybe this one woman's dignity being taken away may make thousands of men stand up and remember who they are. That's the way at times we may need to see the scenario around us. That these small elements of hardship raise thousands of individuals, فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ, make people return back to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some of these individuals at the moment are writing PhD dissertations about what is Iman. They're not Muslims, they can write for the rest of their life. They can't understand what halawatul Iman is. Why people, the more daght, the more shada'id, the more obstacles, the more problems you place, you find more people begin to do what? Return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something strange. We don't flee away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mu'min, the believer, becomes more mutamassik, more closer, more devoted to the Quran, the Sunnah, and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.